Public Meeting Law, I wish to state that on December 14, 2018, the notice of this meeting of the Upper Township Committee was posted on the official Township Bulletin Board, mailed to the Cape May County Gazette, the Atlantic City Press, the Ocean City Sentinel-Ledger, the Herald Times, and filed with the Township Clerk. Tonight's meeting is being video recorded up until the closed session portion of this meeting and will be available on UTTV Channel 97 and on the Upper Township website. I hereby direct that this announcement be made a part of this meeting. I would ask all to rise for the salute to the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Barbara, would you call the roll, please?
Mr. Barr?
Here.
Mr. Coggins?
Here.
Mr. Corson?
Present.
Mr. Young?
Here.
Mayor Palumbo?
Here.
All members are present.
Would someone like to approve the minutes or make a motion to approve the minutes for December 3rd, the regular and closed session minutes? Motion to approve.
Second.
All right. Is there any corrections, deletion, omissions that anyone's aware of? Hearing none. Let's call the roll.
Mr. Barr?
Yes.
Mr. Coggins?
Yes.
Mr. Corson?
Yes.
Mr. Young?
Yes.
And Mayor Palumbo?
Yes.
Motion is carried. All in favor?
All right. Scott, we're going to go to you. What do you have for us tonight?
Good evening, Mayor and committee members. I have a few things this evening. First, I wanted to follow up on last meeting. I reported on our 2017 EMAA funding. That's FEMA funding that we received on an annual basis for our emergency management activities within Upper Township. Back at our last meeting, I reported that this funding was forthcoming, and it actually came in on the 10th. So we received our our electronic, payment for this pass-through grant. It was in the amount of $10,000. Some of you, this is a public service announcement that tomorrow morning at approximately 9 a.m., the Atlantic City Electric will be having a temporary power outage at 9 a.m. This will impact some of the residents of Beasley's Point, and specifically from Route 9 and surrounding roads from Diane to Harbor Road. Again, it's for about 15 minutes, and it's because of work that they're doing some upgrades to their substation.
I got your code thing.
Yeah, I was just going to mention that we utilized our Code Red, providing assistance to Atlantic City Electric as we've done before, and basically it just went out to all those specific residents to identify that tomorrow morning this is taking place. Shouldn't be any more than 15 minutes, and probably will be a lesser amount of time. I also wanted to report there was an incident on Friday. It was one of a medical run that occurred on Friday in the area of Corson Tavern Road. I'm bringing this to committee's attention because it's similar to, basically I'm going to call it a delayed response. Not because of our Ocean City Dispatch. As you know, they service Upper Township, Fire, and EMS. But there are some issues that basically have reoccurred, and we have some concerns that we may believe, and we're still doing the investigation on this, behind the reason for the response delay. But for whatever reason, at this particular point, the call was delayed getting to the proper dispatch center, and therefore it slowed the actual final response of our EMS team to the actual residential location and the medical call on Corson Tavern Road. Again, we're still looking into this, investigating it, but I bring it up because it is something that occurred several months back. If you remember, we had an individual here that claimed the same thing happened, and we're looking into the fact that it may also be a result of our zip code situation. So we're going to continue, myself and Chief Potter, to look into this incident and find out exactly. It may be twofold. It may be as a result of the zip code issue, but we also have to look at the dispatch system itself to determine whether or not there's any issues there from an operational standpoint.
Well, Curtis also said, I thought your suggestion was also prudent in that if it's called from a cell phone, is it where the cell phone's being picked up by the tower?
That's a contributing factor.
That is a contributing factor.
Yeah.
Also a contributing factor is to ensure that the dispatcher is asking the appropriate questions to ascertain specifically, based on that technology, where exactly the phone call is being made from. That's very important through this process of...
Well, Dennis Township was dispatched, and they actually went to an address in South Seaville. This was in Seaville, and they got turned around, and Upper Township Rescue was dispatched finally.
And I might add that as a result of the first incident that was brought to committee's attention, we put safeguards into place through our dispatch center in Ocean City, techniques that they use through their technology that they have that would actually pop up before the dispatcher to ensure that the proper questions are being asked and the proper information is being interpreted to get the rigs to that particular location. Chief, is there anything else that you might want to add?
No, I mean, the biggest thing we put in is asking them where they pay their taxes, because they aren't never break down.
Exactly. So that's a trigger mechanism from the dispatcher to ensure that, because we all understand that during a 911 call, there's heightened senses during those calls from the person that's calling. So it's important that the dispatcher, calms that individual to the best extent they can, and then ask the appropriate trigger questions to ensure that they're getting the information to properly make the dispatch. So that's what we're looking at. We will review the tapes and whatnot from both Ocean City and then also, more importantly, from Belle Plaine, and we'll also take another look at the zip code situation. But I just wanted to bring that to committee's attention. If there's nothing else on that, I do have one other public service announcement. I attended with our Deputy Emergency Management Coordinators last week our quarterly emergency management meeting. During that time, we were provided with some information that the Cape May County GIS department, they have developed a tidal flooding awareness application that they have, that basically it's a suite of web applications that helps users gain better understanding of potential impacts of tidal flooding, inundation in the Cape May County region. So I thought it was, and I have to share this with Paul, we both thought it was a good idea to put this on our the flood awareness sections of our website, which have been done. We're going to be adding it to the emergency management links as well. And again, it just basically shows the end user, tells them all about inundation in their particular area. So if there's minor tidal flooding, what does that exactly mean to me when the weather forecasters are forecasting? They can actually plug in the information and it'll populate it on a map and it'll show them a general idea of what that type of inundation. Now there's certain things that it doesn't take into account, like heavy rains and other wave actions. But it's a good understanding, especially if you live on a barrier island or any of our flood-prone areas of Upper Township. It's good for those residents. So again, we have a link to our website. It's actually, for the purpose of media, it's actually a long email address, our web address, but so we've linked it to our uppertownship.com. In the engineering tab, and it will be on the emergency management tab, that information. Paul, do you have?
The only thing else that it also does is it will, not only can do pre-forecasting, but it's actually tied to, within the county, 3 different tidal stations. So depending on if you're in the north, central, or southern locations, and it'll actually, based on that tidal station, it'll show you what the inundation could be at your location. So it'll actually, during a storm, kind of show you, so it's not 100% accurate because it's not at your location, but it will show you, based on the tide information at the closest tidal station that you're at, what the flooding you could be expected to see at any given time. So
And does it define what like mean low means,
Yes.
Because, you listen to the weather reports and they'll say it's 3 feet above mean low. Well,
Yeah.
but who knows what that is?
And that's part of, when they were developing that, we worked with the developers of the application to really define that, because that is very confusing to the public as far as the nomenclature that the meteorologists use, us as engineers and surveyors use, and which datum they're using, so they kind of put that information.
So they define it in layman's
Layperson,
terms
and
that
they-
people can understand.
And they put that information on there, and they even give that reference that, especially if you're in a floodplain area, you probably would know your flood elevation certificate, your flooding information from your flood elevation certificate. It references that same datum that's on your flood elevation certificate, so you can know, okay, I know my property is at this elevation, and you can reference that elevation that they're giving on this website.
I think that's definitely good information to provide, so, especially with the winter coming, and hopefully we won't have any nor'easters, but, that happens from time to time, and sometimes it's quicker than what even the weather people anticipate, so.
And I'll give another plug for another website. On our township website, we also reference the Stevens Institute of Technology has a very powerful and useful site where you can sign up on their website, and they will give you a 3 or 4 day advance notice of when they predict flooding in your region or area based on tide stations. And that is their system of prediction is very accurate.
Many meteorologists use that system, believe it or not, to make some of their forecasts.
For tidal flooding.
Yeah.
And then it'll email it right to your phone or work tablet, and so you can get those up to date straight away.
The other thing I have, Public Works, just an update on leaf collection. We're completing Summers Avenue, heading south to Indian Walk in Seaville, and then we'll be moving this week to moving to Petersburg and also Tuckahoe. And the last thing I have for the purpose of committee, as you know, we've discussed some of the positions that we've lost over the past 6 to 8 months as far as Public Works is concerned. I have applications, and I've had the opportunity to review them with Committeeman Barr and other committeemen on the dais this evening. And I'd like to make a recommendation that we consider these particular candidates. We have 4 laborer positions and 1 mechanics helper position.
I guess everybody is well aware, all my colleagues here, that over the past year, we've had retirements. We've had at least 2 people who have left and gone for employment with other agencies. And now we also have 2 other people that are getting ready to retire after the first 2 years. So looking at that in the operations of Public Works, we're getting to a critical point in manpower to be able to continue providing the level of service. So I'd like to make a motion that we accept the names, if you would present the names.
Marshall Joseph Kohler, Sean Robert Fenton, Daniel Matthey, and John Principe, and the last one is Evan Sheridan.
And of course, as we discussed, this would all be, their employment would be contingent upon the background investigations and the other...
The background
There will be a
fingerprint.
formal resolution at the
Yes.
next meeting.
At the next meeting.
Well, the meeting
Jen.
after that, the regular meeting,
Yeah.
next
Not
week.
the- not the reorganization.
Not the reorganization,
Next regular meeting.
The
That's
next
correct.
regular
Madam
meeting.
Clerk.
which we have a list here, right?
Is that the date?
Next regular meeting will be
14th.
January
That
14th.
would be the 14th.
So that'll be the tentative start date, or that's,
I'm sorry?
we have a tentative start date for these guys, or?
Well, if everything goes as planned, we could potentially be the 15th.
Yeah, it could be mid-January when they start, but it depends on their background checks and how quickly they get moving on it.
And with the other applications, have we ranked them as far as if one of these guys decides not?
Yes, we have backup
Oh, we have plenty of
applications
applications.
in the event.
Can we-
And there is also a probationary period with all the applicants
Right.
in 90 days.
I haven't seen any of the applications myself to review them, or really, Scott, I knew nothing about this coming into the night. We never discussed it.
Okay.
So this is kind of thrown in my lap again, and it affects my departments. So, I think the 4 choices are adequate, and I think they're good. But again, we should be going to the committee that's in charge of those departments and saying, do you have preferences? What are we looking for?
Well, I assure you, Hobie, all these applicants are highly
I have a question.
qualified. We have some that Most of them all have CDLs. We're starting to raise the bar and set a standard on hiring people from now on. One gentleman has a pesticide license, so these are some of the things you and I have talked about. We're getting people right out of the box that we don't have to spend
I don't
time
have
of
a problem with the
education.
hiring, I have an issue with not being sat down and discussed, or even a chance to look and see who put applications in. When I have buildings and grounds and recreation and, you know, there's certain needs we have in those departments that is not a public works issue.
Well, I assure you that all those were taken into consideration as far as,
For the future, I would like to be considered
absolutely.
to be looking at these applications, that's all. And I think that they're good picks.
Thank you.
It's just not being considered to even look at them kind of rubs me wrong.
One quick question, as we go into next year's budget, you're looking at bringing 5 heads aboard. With the headcount reduction we've had in,
Correct.
you know, people leaving for various reasons, does this leave us headcount neutral, or are we up one?
We could be up 1. Yeah, well, we could be up 1, correct?
But there's an anticipation of
Yes.
retirements that are coming up in
Correct.
January as well.
We have 2 retirements.
With the, okay.
So I think.
So when you factor in people to put their paperwork in, then that may leave us either at neutral or potentially down 1.
Yeah, that's
Okay,
right.
that's kind of where I was going. All right, thank you. And I'll second it.
Since we're talking about the hiring, Scotty, have we looked at what we're going to do as far as with the retirements?
Well, I think that's a separate issue that needs to be discussed in
Yes.
the future.
Okay, so I have a first, I have a second. Mr. Barr?
Yes.
Mr. Coggins?
Yes.
Mr. Corson?
Yes.
Mr. Young?
Yes.
And Mayor Palumbo?
Yes.
Motion is carried.
Yeah, and
We'll have a formal resolution at the January 14th meeting.
And that's all I have.
Barbara?
Well, I don't have much compared to that. In observance of the Christmas holiday, the township offices will be closed at 1 o'clock on December 24th, and in observance of New Year's, we will also be closed at 1 o'clock on the 31st. Our next meeting will be January 4th, will be our reorganization meeting at 6 p.m., and then the first regular meeting will be January 14th at the regular time, 7:30. And I'd like to wish everyone a nice
You know what,
holiday.
I'm glad you brought that up. So with Christmas and New Year's being on Tuesday, which is a normal trash day in my neighborhood, in the areas, just out of curiosity, what is the plan with 2 of the same days? Normally, they don't pick up recyclables that, like, until the following week, but the following week is also a holiday. So how are we going to arrange that?
It will be collected the next day, on
Everything?
Wednesday. Yes, trash and
Okay.
recycling from what I've
Yes, that's correct.
had conversations I've had with Public Works. yes.
Okay. Well, I mean, I didn't mean it from just me particular, more because of the name, because with two holidays in a row, normally people would think that maybe they'll pick it up next week, but
No,
it's,
both will be collected the
Okay.
next day.
Yes,
On our website has that information, I
Yes,
believe.
it does.
yes, it does.
okay, great.
And that's all I have. Thank you.
Daniel, welcome back.
Nothing at this time, just a few things for closed session.
Okay. Paul?
Thank you. I put before you it's a preliminary sketch of the Harbor Road Gateway project area, and had an opportunity to meet with the county planning department, and they're in the process of redesigning their logo and coming up with new thematic schemes for not only the open space program, but also trying to look at, I'll say, a standard suite of kiosks and benches and different park amenities that, as they start to fund projects, that they can maybe create a theme and a model throughout the county, and especially for wayfinding signs and informational signs, so that it's kind of one cohesive branding throughout the county. And they have chosen Upper Township, the Harbor Road Gateway project area, to be a focal project to kind of kick the program off. So they are going to be doing some additional, not only the branding end of it, but they've hired some additional landscape architects and and marketers to kind of look at the Harbor Gateway area and kind of come up with a thematic plan to enhance what we're doing as part of the, the parking lot and the other amenities that we're looking at. So this was a preliminary sketch that one of their staff had come up with. Just wanted to present it to you that to kind of get you a feel of some of the things that they'll be looking at. And Ed and I met with them last week to discuss the project and kind of look it over, and we'll be, sitting down with them again in the future to go over, what it could be, what it might be, kind of a thing. But I just wanted to keep the committee up to date on that.
If we're gonna have a park here with all these pavilions and all that, maybe we should reach out to the Historical Society. I mean, they had a little story about a Revolutionary War event that took place here.
Well, that's on the other side. That's on the other side, right?
It's on the other side.
Matter of fact.
At the Stites sisters, right?
One of the gentlemen who's working on this project, I passed him on Mr. Holden's contact information. He's going to reach out to Mr. Holden in reference to the historical significance of the area, and they're going to incorporate that into some of the design and maybe some of the attractions that you would have there.
Because there is a sign there on the other side of the boat
Right.
ramp. It's right there at the boat ramp, and that's part of the Women Heritage,
he's gonna
the
reach out
state's
to you.
Women's Heritage
I
Trail.
mean, isn't that the story that they actually,
They fired a cannon.
fired a cannon
Fired a
and chased
cannon.
off a British warship or something?
Yes,
That was in the inlet?
yes, that is the,
So, I mean, it might be,
Which is
we could probably
pretty
find a
significant, really.
better, more visible spot for the signage.
that will be, that sign that we already have there will be incorporated more prominently as we redesign this, yes.
Yes.
And the other thing is too, they want to reach out to like the Tucko Inn, some of the residents that are in there, and get some more buy-in from them. as
Well,
far as
the one thing, I had
participation.
gotten an email from someone on Harbor Road, and basically asked that we not allow parking on where the beach is. Not in the design parking lot, but you know how they take a couple spots right
Yes.
where the lifeguard stand is and stuff?
Cafeteria.
Yeah, and they were wondering if that's something that could be eliminated somehow.
It looks like it
What
was.
we're doing.
It looks like it is, it's eliminated
Yeah,
from
but
this
you know
point.
what? This design, they're also taking into consideration the program that's held there
For
during
the-
the summertime for the, those that are handicapped to be able to utilize the water. So what they did is they asked us, how do you utilize this entire space? Who comes here? What organizations use it? We gave them all that information, and that's what they're trying to come up with some type of a scheme to be able to satisfy all those.
great.
interests in the area.
Because this is, as far as a unique location in Calumet County, there's not many places that you can come and do boating, swimming, biking, and kind of get the whole atmosphere all in one location. There's not that many spots that you can find it at one park location, so this is going to be a unique spot that they want to highlight for the county.
Great.
Again, do we have rough time frame on these improvements, or?
As far as, it'll probably be sometime next year.
Or, so it leads to the $1 million question, are we going to do anything with the boat ramp?
That's,
That would
Fire.
probably,
Doing this?
that is in, that, they're well aware of that, they're well aware of the boat ramp, and they're well aware of the end of Route 9 and doing something with that area.
Yeah, I'd hate to see them make all the improvements and then tear it up again to fix the ramps.
Yeah.
I think it should be.
the ramp will probably be in a second phase. After we kind of get this moving along, we'll probably go back to them and ask for some additional funding to do the boat ramps.
And have we made any headway, even though we're not talking about the ramp, as far as getting somebody out there to look at and make recommendations design-wise on what the best thing to do is with that ramp? So we kind of have an idea again going down the stretch here, that we're not doubling up on the work and,
Oh, yeah,
you know,
that's gonna, that's,
the move is to have somebody, a professional, you know, somebody that does that kind of work come out and
You'll-
do a design. So
just like what we're doing right now, with this consulting firm coming in for the county to look at this, that's the way the boat ramp and what the bridge abutment, called the bridge abutment, is gonna be handled. That professional firm.
So there's still a possibility that they may consider some sort of end street fishing pier there on the other side?
It's been spitballed. We've
talked about some different
I
ideas.
mean, I think that would really enhance the whole area if we could decide what we're talking about here.
Another consideration too, maybe to set aside an area there that the township could actually bid out to a vendor, whether it's somebody who rents beach chairs and umbrellas or kayaks or paddle boards or something like that, that's currently not there, so we're not competing with an existing business, but to maybe enhance that park as a whole, because you do have the nice recreation area.
Tuck the windows and outside bar.
All right, I look forward to seeing this begin to come into a project.
They got a docking top.
That's all I had.
Who's the artist, by the way?
I forgot to bring the architect's name.
Just
That's probably a good thing.
But I get the idea, so they want to put a pavilion actually where the boat ramp is, right, on that side?
Actually, that's kind of, if you look where that pavilion is, that kind of is the area where that parking would be.
Okay.
In that corner. So that'd kind of be the central location where both you could sit and look out at the water, and also would give an associated area for the boat ramp attendant to kind of be at that central core area for that location.
Great.
That's all I had. Thank you.
Barbara.
Nothing this evening, sir.
All right. Committeeman Coggins.
I'd like to wish our residents, our township employees, my colleagues, a very Merry Christmas. And by way of a public service announcement, if anyone knows of families or individuals who are struggling and in need of help this Christmas, the Knights of Columbus still do a couple days left where they have some opportunity to provide help on a limited basis to people who are struggling. So if you know of anybody, you could have them contact the clerk's office, who could get information to me that I could pass on. They can also register at St. Casimir's Parish at the thrift shop
In Woodbine.
in Woodbine, and also St. Maximilian Kolbe Church Parish Office in Marmora. So that was all I had.
Okay, great.
Just, Scott, update on the recreation center lights, where are we? 'Cause I talked to somebody the other day, they said there's still 12 lights out of the 17.
We had a vendor in,
Sorry.
yeah, we had a vendor in there last week that we discussed with. We're waiting for another vendor to come in, and I'm just waiting for the quote.
Are they gonna do the whole package, or are we gonna just?
Well,
twist them out?
that's what we're debating right now, because we're also looking at LED. Some of the initial information I have coming in with LED lighting.
I think
there's a
basketball
substantial
starts
savings.
Thursday night.
I'm sorry?
Basketball's already started, so we don't have a lot of time on this. They need the lights on, the head referee called me and said it's too dark in there.
Right, okay. Well, I'll look into that as far as expediting.
So if you
the-
gotta get some of the ballasts replaced until we update, I think that's what we need to do, but,
It happened suddenly, all 12 went out?
I couldn't hear you.
They've been out for some time.
They've been out, there was 17 total lights out, I think. And it appears to be the ballast. But I said, that's a normal maintenance issue, if we can get the ballast, otherwise we can replace the ballast, we don't need a
It's
licensed
an-
electrician for that.
On the contrary, yeah, we were told by our departments that we do require, because of the type of ballast. Yes, we do. We are required. I checked it with Dory and also with Bill Hoffman.
Wow. We just double or triple our cost going into the year.
Well, and that's exactly.
If we're not allowed to do normal maintenance like that, now we're paying scale.
Well,
So we took a job that's $300 and made it $3,000.
well, and that's why we're looking at, because of the liability that's behind it.
Right, so, but based on what Hobie's saying, if the basketball season starts, we can maybe, talk to the construction office and see if we can make some sort of temporary considerations or
I
whatever.
don't know why it's not considered normal maintenance.
Because you actually
Let's
physically have
not-
to take the lights apart, change the valves in them.
So if they gotta change an outlet, are we gonna have to bring in an electrician for an outlet?
More than likely, yes.
From a liability standpoint, I would say yes.
Better add some money to the budget for next year. That's not where
Well, I'm
we
back to,
intend.
how do we get 17 lights out all at once? I mean, hasn't anybody been in the building since last basketball season?
Nobody did a walkthrough or went in and checked our lights. Same issue I've got with Codwell Park, the lights out over there. Nobody seems to be doing an inventory on a regular basis. These buildings should be inspected like on a monthly basis. And anything that's, has to be repaired should be written up and taken care of.
Well, we just had Atlantic City Electric go through Amanda's field. All those lights have been updated and corrected. And we were just getting ready to have them look at Caldwell Park as well.
Who's going to look at that?
Atlantic City Electric.
All right, that's for,
Any that they're.
that's for the security lights.
That's correct.
To go- all right.
Yep. And as you know, there are other issues with those, but we had to look at the 2019 budget potential
Yeah.
for replacing any of those lights.
Yeah.
Because there are other issues.
As far as the rec center, I did stop in there last week at nighttime while the kids were in there practicing, and it's dark in there.
All right, well,
We will look into that.
So, also, Scott, I know we talked about, we've been having ongoing, and I'm looking into this year's budget, as I want to make sure we address it, it's Caldwell Park lights. We're having a major issue with those lights now, starting to deteriorate, the ballast's going bad, fuse is going bad, the underground wiring could possibly be going bad.
Correct.
We need to get some kind of a company in there also to do a complete evaluation.
And we just had that. I have those.
Did they check the underground wires and everything, or is it just the lights?
Just the lights at this point.
So we need to get I think we need to get, if we're going to do this, get a whole workup.
Correct.
Because if the wires are going bad, there's no sense putting lights up without wires.
You're absolutely right, and we are doing that for
You know,
2019.
and then also, I know we have a lot of poles there. Looking at that field and having coached on it for years with those lights, and what the new lights are, I don't think we need that many poles. I think you probably get away with 6 total poles on that field.
And that's another thing we were taking into consideration with the new type of technologies that are out there, so we would be able to reduce that number of poles that we have.
Yeah, because that's where the major cost is, and it's about $11,000 a pole, if I remember correctly.
And as you just mentioned, a lot of those poles are close to 30-plus years old.
Well, they were put in early,
So
late
36 years
70s,
old.
early 80s.
Yep.
I know that talking to the guys who are doing the maintenance on them, a lot of them up top are hollowed out from woodpeckers burrowing into them.
Correct. And that's what was brought to my attention too.
Yeah, with these windstorms we're starting to get, it's something I think we need to take a hard look at for safety reasons.
Absolutely.
Again, I just, I want to make sure we get on the table with it, that we're not doing what's going on with the community center after the fact.
Right.
So I think we need to maybe put a directive out there that, all these buildings should really be walked through on a monthly basis and a game plan put together.
Okay.
All right? And we already talked on the boat ramp, so that's all I have. And also condolences.
Thank you.
The
Thank you
Daniels
for the
family.
flowers.
Deputy Mayor Barr.
I'd just like to wish everybody a Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays, and a safe Happy Holiday. That's all I have to report.
Committeeman Corson.
Thank you. At this time, I just want to wish everyone a happy holiday season and Happy New Year.
I too want to wish everyone a Merry Christmas and a Happy Holidays and Happy and Healthy New Year. But I also, as I had said at the last meeting, for those of you that may have an opportunity to help contribute to some families, as John had, spoken about earlier, if you can donate toys, or you can donate food, or you can donate some gift cards or whatever, anything like that will help. There's some people that are in need, and if you're looking for something to do for this season, now's the time to step up and try and do what you can to help others. So this is a great community that helps one another, and we'll continue to do that. So I wish all of you a great Christmas and Happy New Year, and thank you for all that everyone in the township does, with volunteers, with sporting events, and with Boy Scouts and Girl Scouts, and you name it, the clubs, the associations, the business association. Everyone does their best to make this community as great as it is. So let's continue to do that as we get towards 2019. So thank you all. So with that, Barbara, would you move on with the resolutions, please?
Item number 1, appointing Jeffrey R. Sereni and Associates to act as special legal counsel in matters involving affordable housing obligations.
Move the resolution?
Second?
Mr. Barr?
Yes.
Mr. Coggins?
Yes.
Mr. Corson?
Yes.
Mr. Young?
Yes.
Mayor Plumbo?
Yes.
Motion is carried. 2, authorizing the execution of a shared services agreement with the Upper Township Fire Districts for website services.
Move the resolution.
Second?
Mr. Barr?
Yes.
Mr. Coggins?
Yes.
Mr. Corson?
Yes.
Mr. Young?
Yes.
Mayor Palumbo?
Yes.
Motion's carried. 3, authorizing the execution of a shared services agreement with the City of Ocean City to provide public safety answering and dispatch services and associated computer-aided dispatch support.
Move the resolution.
Second.
Mr. Barr?
Yes.
Mr. Coggins?
Yes.
Mr. Corson?
Yes.
Mr. Young?
Yes.
Mayor Palumbo?
Yes.
Carried. 4, authorizing execution of an NJB PTWA 1 application, statement of consent form regarding 100 Putnam Avenue in Strathmere at Block 824, Lot 7.
Move the resolution?
Second, and Paul, this is what we typically do over in Strathmere, correct?
Yeah, this is a typical one. I did look at it. It does comply with all of our municipal regulations. All the setbacks meet the requirements.
Okay.
Okay. Mr. Barr?
Yes.
Mr. Coggins?
Yes.
Mr. Corson?
Yes.
Mr. Young?
Yes.
And Mayor Palumbo?
Yes.
Motion's carried. Number 5, authorizing the assignment of a tax sales certificate 18-00017.
Motion to authorize?
Second.
Mr. Barr?
Yes.
Mr. Coggins?
Yes.
Mr. Corson?
Yes.
Mr. Young?
Yes.
Mayor Palumbo?
Yes.
Motion is carried. 6, budget transfers resolution.
Motion to approve?
Second.
Mr. Barr?
Yes.
Mr. Coggins?
Yes.
Mr. Corson?
Yes.
Mr. Young?
Yes.
Mayor Palumbo?
Yes.
Motion is carried. 7, authorizing the purchase of certain recreation items and for the chief financial officer to withdraw funds in the amount of $3,600 from the account entitled Recreation Developers Trust Account for such purposes.
Scott, this is for Caldwell Park, I assume?
Yes, that's correct.
Swings and whatever else they do.
That is correct. For additional mulch and whatnot. Yes, correct.
Okay.
So who's making?
Motion.
I'll make the motion. Approve?
Second?
Mr. Barr?
Yes.
Mr. Coggins?
Yes.
Mr. Corson?
Yes.
Mr. Young?
Yes.
Mayor Palumbo?
Yes.
Motion's carried. Number 8, under ordinances, public hearing and final adoption of ordinance number 19, 2018, and ordinance amending revised general ordinance, chapter 20, zoning, the code of Upper Township.
Okay, before I open it up to the public, Dan, any further comments? I know that we're addressing this ordinance as part of our master plan re-examination, but it's also involved with our fair share plan, and that's one of the reasons why we're amending this.
Yes, and these amendments are a handful of items that were picked up in a supplemental review under the master plan re-examination and were identified pursuant to the last court order with the affordable housing matter. It does, the few changes that are there are technical, and the zone change that was frankly recommended 10 years ago is also the zoning map change.
Okay. So at this time, I'm going to open up to the public to see if anyone in the public would like to address the Township Committee on ordinance number 19, 2018, amending the general ordinance of zoning code of Upper Township.
Good evening, I'm Blanche Adams. Excuse me. I'm at 330 Woodbine Road in Steelmantown, and I'm representing the Upper Township Business Association. I read over the ordinance and shared it with our board, and there's one section that I just had a question about. It looks like there's a section 20-4.20 that was added for affordable senior housing. And it looks like it is permitting affordable senior housing on township-owned land. So the question that I have is that it says multifamily dwellings would be permitted. Is that something that's going to be like a private developer? You would be setting that up for someone to come in and build senior housing like a developer, or would these be individual units that are owned by seniors?
It's in an area, Paul, correct me if I'm wrong, it's in an area that's across from where the senior citizen building is. And basically, it could potentially be a public-private kind of shared agreement where we'd be fulfilling what we need to, the units that were required under the fair share housing requirements that are put before the township, by state statute and through the courts. And it is township-owned land, and potentially, it's an area that, could, take some density to allow some sort of center like that. And it's narrowed down to a senior center for a number of reasons, but it's there and it's identified as that, and that's a possibility. I mean, there's nothing in place at this point, if that's what you're asking.
Okay,
That
and
was
it
in the
looks...
plan, so, that was in the plan 10 years ago. This is one of the oversights when they changed the zoning ordinance 10 years ago, they didn't include.
We did have at the time, and Paul, as I recall, Dan, you as well, we had a religious entity that was looking, and actually, I don't think it's any secret, it was the Methodist religious group that is like in Ocean City, the Wesley Manor is, and so they have, and that's what they have there with Ocean City. It is a private and public share kind of opportunity that would meet some requirements for our COA requirements, so.
Okay, and it looks like it would be deed restricted for at least 30 years for seniors. And so the question that the board had was the tax implications. So I'm thinking if it was township-owned land, we're not getting tax money, so there's a potential if you do use it privately for tax, for you to be getting some revenue, us to be getting some revenue from it. So that's a good thing.
It's not a,
Right?
if I may, it's not a mechanism to raise taxes. It's a mechanism to address your need for affordable housing.
Okay.
And this is one of the more benign ways of recognizing and providing for affordable housing in a town, rather than concentrating low-income housing in certain areas. Senior housing has been found to supply that need and also not negatively impact the areas.
Yes,
If you ask
absolutely.
anybody that who bought a multi-million-dollar house within walking distance to Wesley Manor, they'll probably agree.
So,
And the other thing is when this was originally put in the plan, at one point, there were towns that had an opportunity to pay other towns to meet some requirements that we get credit for taking off the units. And some of that has subsided, I think substantially actually. So it really kind of works in the same method where, we have a piece of land that is owned by the township, and so, I mean, again, it's put in the plan, it doesn't mean it's going to happen, but, we feel that it's something that's justified so that we meet the requirement and not find ourselves in a position where we'd have to shell out real dollars. The land's there already, so.
okay. All right, good. That answers the question. Thank you.
Is there anyone else on this particular ordinance? Okay, so we've had one comment from the public, Blanche Adams. It doesn't appear there's anyone else that wants to address the Township Committee. So at this time, I'll close the public portion of the ordinance hearing and entertain a motion for adoption.
I'd like to make a motion to adopt ordinance number 019-2018.
Second.
Mr. Barr? Yes. Mr. Coggins?
Yes.
Mr. Person?
Yes.
Mr. Young?
Yes.
And Mayor Palumbo?
Yes.
Motion is carried. Item number 9, public hearing and final adoption of ordinance number 20, 2018, and ordinance amending ordinance number 17, 2017, known as the salary ordinance for the calendar year 2018. This is a public hearing.
Okay, if there isn't, is there any public interjection? Hearing none, I'm going to open it up to the public. Would someone from the public like to address on amended salary ordinance? And basically what this is addressing our upcoming year with some of the revisions that we're putting.
No,
This
this
is
is
our current
amending.
year.
The current year,
That's the next
2018.
ordinance.
Oh, okay, okay,
This one just corrects an oversight in the current ordinance.
okay. So is there anyone in the public that would like to address? Hearing none, we'll close the public portion and entertain a motion for adoption.
Move we adopt ordinance number 20 of 2018.
Second.
Mr. Farr?
Yes.
Mr. Coggins?
Yes.
Mr. Corson?
Yes.
Mr. Young?
Yes.
Mayor Palumbo?
Yes.
Motion is carried. 10, public hearing and final adoption of ordinance number 21, 2018, an ordinance establishing salaries for the Township of Upper for the calendar year 2019.
This one I was ahead of myself. This is the one I was originally talking about. This amends the ordinance, or establishes an ordinance for our calendar year of 2019. So is there anyone in the public that would like to address this ordinance? Okay, there doesn't appear, let the record reflect that there was no public comment, so I'll close the public hearing portion and entertain a motion for adoption.
Motion to adopt ordinance number 21-2018.
Second.
Mr. Farr?
Yes.
Mr. Coggins?
Yes.
Mr. Corson?
Yes.
Mr. Young?
Yes.
And Mayor Palumbo?
Yes.
Motion is carried.
Would someone like to make a motion to pay the bills?
I hereby move that all claims submitted for payment at this meeting be approved and then incorporated into the full minutes of this meeting.
Second.
Mr. Farr?
Yes.
Mr. Coggins?
Yes.
Mr. Corson?
Yes.
Mr. Young?
Yes.
Mayor Palumbo?
Yes.
Motion is carried.
There are a number of reports from the municipal departments: Animal Control, Clerk's Office, EMS, Finance Office, Green Team, Municipal Court, and Tax Collector. All of these reports will be available upon request tomorrow at the Clerk's Office, but I'll make a motion to accept these reports.
Second.
Mr. Farr?
Yes.
Mr. Coggins?
Yes.
Mr. Corson?
Yes.
Mr. Young?
Yes.
Mayor Palumbo?
Yes.
Motion is carried.
At this time, we've reached the public comment portion of the meeting. If anyone from the public would like to address the Township Committee, now's the time to do so. Please come up to the podium and state your name and your address and your reason for addressing the Township Committee. You have a very quiet audience this evening. So it appears that there's no public comment to end the last meeting of the year. So I'll close the public comment portion of the meeting and entertain a motion to go into executive session.
I hereby move that a resolution be incorporated into the minutes authorizing the Township Committee to enter into an executive session for the following matters pursuant to the Open Public Meetings Act. The matters are personnel, contract negotiations for a shared service agreement with Cape May County for senior center maintenance, litigation for Upper Township versus Painter. I also include in my motion the estimated time and circumstances under which the discussion conducted in closed session can be disclosed to the public as follows. It is anticipated that the matters discussed in closed session may be disclosed to the public upon the determination of the Township Committee that the public interest will no longer be served by such confidentiality. With respect to employment and personnel matters, such discussions will be made public if and when formal action is taken, or when the individuals involved consent that it can be made public. With respect to contract negotiations, such matters will be made public when negotiations have ceased and there's no longer a reason for confidentiality. With respect to litigation matters, such discussions will be made public when litigation is complete and the applicable appeal period has expired.
Second, would you call the roll, please?
Mr. Barr?
Yes.
Mr. Coggins?
Yes.
Mr. Corson?
Yes.
Mr. Young?
Yes.
Mayor Palumbo?
Yes.
Motion is carried.
For those of you that are in the audience, please drive safely home. Have a great holiday season. Merry Christmas to you as well.
Merry Christmas.
Happy New Year. Merry Christmas.